Hey everyone, it's your favorite host, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today you all are in for a treat. We are going to talk about a topic that is absolutely necessary. This woman is necessary. She's a return guest and one of my favorite guests because she is fun, energetic, and a pure heart of gold. And she's going to speak truth today. She's going to talk about what you and I need to hear when it comes to prenuptial agreements. Stay with us. Stay tuned. This lady is going to rock the house. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Today I have coming to the stage Miss Christian Family. This woman is phenomenal, and she has been a true inspiration in my life and a help in my life, and just her energy, her vibe is incredible. She's twice divorced, adult child of divorce, and a proud mother of 3 incredible kids. A former divorce lawyer whose divorced parents live with her. She truly is all things divorce. Miss Christian specializes in the nuances of both topics, even changing her name in August 2018. We're going to dive into a little bit of how that happened. Miss Christian is a phenomenal speaker, traveling and educating families, and TED Talks. Her most recent TED Talk, you got to check out for yourself. We're going to share at the end of this show. And we want to dive deep into why you, me, we need a prenuptial agreement. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible, amazing Miss Christian Family. How's it going, Queen? How are you?
I am well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for returning. Oh my gosh, I'm excited today. We are going to talk about something that really resonates. It's been coming up more and more about marriage, relationships, dating. But we never talk about the end result, which is prenuptial agreements. But prenuptial agreements isn't just the end. It's something that should be brought up in the beginning.
Yes.
And so, but first, I have to ask the question for those that don't know you. How is it your name? How did that come to be? Your name is actually Christian Family, right?
Yes, my name is actually Christian Family, and no, my parents did not name me that, right? So it's really was a very boss kind of marketing move on my part. That was the original idea of it back in May of 2018 when the idea came to me. Like, hey, what I'm doing out here is Christian divorce. What I'm doing out here is Christian family law. The best way for me to change the name of my law firm at the time to really represent what I was doing was to change my name, right? So it was a really kind of clever loophole. So I thought. What God knew, right? Because there's always a catch, right? What God knew is that it was time for me to step into being a new person. It was time for me to embark on a new path. And so while the idea came to me in May, the official name change hearing was on August the 2nd. On August the 1st, my then husband blacked my eye. I walked into the name change hearing with a black eye, but not a real understanding that I was an abused woman. I entered into a training room for an emotional intelligence leadership training, primarily because I thought I couldn't figure out why I wasn't making enough money at my Christian divorce business, telling women that they don't have to stay in unhealthy marriages. And at the end of those 3 days, with my new name and the black eye, I really officially became Christian Family. And I realized that I deserve better. Do you know what I mean? And so I became my new me, Christian Family.
Wow. And so that's huge, right? Thank you for sharing that story. I think there are a lot of women who are in abuse marriages and relationships and don't even realize it, unfortunately, until it's too late. And that was the turning point for you when you're walking into a room speaking to an audience of people expecting to hear these profound experiences and knowledge and wisdom, and here you are going through seemingly the same thing.
Mhm.
What advice would you say to that young woman who's abused and doesn't even know it? What telltale signs should she look for?
These are good questions. Look yourself in the mirror. That actually is my number one advice. I didn't realize that that was something that I had stopped doing inside that abusive marriage. I had lost trust with myself in learning and allowing all of these things to happen and occur in my life. Look at yourself, you know, and really look at yourself and talk to yourself, and are you okay? And if you're not okay, you get to make a difference. Ask yourself what it is that you do want instead of focusing on what you don't want. Um, yeah.
Compromise. Do not compromise. Don't compromise who you are for what you may seemingly want. A lot of us are racing towards marriage. We're racing towards marriage.
Hmm.
But is marriage truly the goal? And in some aspects, it should be the lifelong commitment of the person.
Hmm.
So thank
No,
you.
that's the thing. No, because with that, sometimes people are getting married because of what they don't want, and it's not because of what they do want. Really, it's an important thing. I don't want to be single. I
True.
don't want to be alone. I don't want these things, right? Like, and therefore, right, I don't want to keep dating. I don't want to have to find somebody to have sex with. You know what I mean? I don't want these things. And so I will get married, but married isn't necessarily what they want. Do you understand?
Facts. You're
And
right.
that's the problem.
That is the problem. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you for speaking on that. One of the many things that you did which was unique. You have unfortunately or fortunately the unique experiencing of having served a lot of people in the divorce area. And
Yes.
so what was the common thing that you noticed in your practice when you were in your practice? What was a common theme that you noticed most people were getting divorced from? The reasons why people were getting divorced most often for?
Oh, there's really only two reasons people get divorced: unmet expectations and dishonesty.
Hmm.
Unmet expectations is a killer, right? People go into marriages not knowing what to expect, not knowing what it's going to be. All they have is some picture that they've made up in their mind that is based in what? TV, movies, their imagination. It's like not really based in anything. And then when their partner can't live up to it, when it's not the way that they thought it was going to be, now they're disappointed and they're frustrated, you know. And most of us are not emotionally intelligent enough to recognize that that's what's going on. And so now we're mad at our spouse. Then there's resentment. Bada bam, bada bing,
There it
divorce.
is. Yes, there it is. How has COVID-19 changed? We saw a lot of divorce just running rampant throughout COVID-19 in a time where we should have been sticking together. In your professional and wise experience, what do you think? Why did the divorce rate increase when, in my opinion, it should have went down?
Well, the thing is with COVID, right? We're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat, right? Some
True.
marriages really did strengthen during COVID because what they had was a solid foundation, right? And what was missing is they needed some more togetherness, you know, like this calamity, this tough time brought them together. COVID is pressure, right? Like any pressure, any kind of serious event, it's either going to make you stronger or it's going to break you. It's just going to expose what's really there. And so what happened is there was a lot of unhealthy relationships running around out here, but people were able to fake it because they're going to, you know, work and they work in two different shifts. They're not seeing each other. You know what I mean? They're just trying to pretend like it's not happening. And then when the pressure was on, it was like, no, this shit is broke. Excuse my mouth. You know what I mean? Like,
Fine, you fine.
right? It had been broken. It just wasn't, the pressure wasn't on it to make it clear. So
It's true. So when so COVID expose the hard truth is we've probably been out of love for a long time.
Correct.
It forced people who were able to escape, right? It forced people to allow people the opportunity. It's like, well, I'm mad at you, so I'm gonna go to work, or I'm mad at you, I'm gonna take the kids. And so when you can't go anywhere and you have to stay indoors with that other person, you realize, man, I don't know who I'm with anymore.
And I would say, and it's not even necessarily out of love, but you don't like that person anymore. It's the like that's really the issue.
True. So true. So true. Here we have Christian family, y'all, spilling the incredible tea. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, well, some, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. We are back. If you're tuning into the Gentleman Style Podcast Show for the first time, we have the incredible, the amazing, lovely Miss Christian family. And she is spilling the tea on divorce, marriage, and prenuptial agreements. If you are missing that, scroll back, tune in and check her out. You won't want to miss 1 second of what this phenom has to say. Miss Christian, what can people expect? I know we are no longer practicing law anymore, but what was the average cost of a divorce? What can people expect to pay for a divorce?
So this is always what people want to know. And I'm going to start with this. How much is a plane ticket?
Depends on the seat. Anywhere from a couple $100 to several $1,000s.
Right. It depends on where you are, where you're trying to go. Right. Are you trying to go first class? Are you trying to go coach? How much baggage do you have? So all of these variables go into, right, what is going to be the cost of a divorce. What I would say to people is that the average divorce is $7,500. Exactly. The problem is average is really just it's a false number, right? Because really most divorces will come in on the low end around $3,500 if you have a lawyer and you do things right, you know, or it's like 15,000. You know what I mean? Like 7,500 isn't the actual true number. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of like the average. My suggestion for anybody in any state in the entire United States of America, wherever you are getting a divorce, if you have children or property of any kind, you definitely want a lawyer to help you with your divorce, right? Because people always want to know, can I do it myself? If you and your spouse legit don't have nothing, you don't have any kids, you don't have any real property, you don't have any actual property. In fact, y'all haven't even lived together in the last 3 years, you could probably do it without a lawyer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for busting that myth wide open. And that's what, no, because people, like you said, people ask often, they're like, it's cheaper to keep her, or it's, you always hear those comments, say those sayings and those myths. So thank you for debunking that. That's what we need to hear. I want to debunk another myth. What is a prenuptial agreement and how
There you
does it
go.
work?
So, a prenuptial agreement is an agreement that you make before you get married, right? Like it's an agreement you make with your spouse. Conceptually, it's really about finances, right? And it's a roadmap, so to speak, as to how you and your spouse value money, how you define things, and how you would want your assets and accumulations to be distributed if you were to end in divorce or even death.
Mm.
Or even death, right? And I think that's important. People are always giving, prenups this, just they get a bad rap. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, but really it's a plan. It's a good plan. It's like making a business plan. Like if you have a business, you make a business plan, and part of the business plan is how you would dissolve the business. It's part of the plan. Not that you're necessarily planning to end the business, but life happens, things happen, right? It is part of the plan. The point of making the business plan is the whole business might necessarily go according to the plan, but the activity, the action of thinking through the steps, answering the questions, defining the variables, the actual doing of the task, that's the money, that's the value. And that's the same with the prenuptial agreement, right? Like it could be that you spend all the time getting to know each other, y'all talk this all out, y'all got the perfect prenuptial agreement and nobody ever needs it. Yay.
True, true, very true. That's the goal, is to never have to need it. But so and you talked to this, you did a TED talk on and numerous other speaking engagements that you do, but you actually go the opposite route. We have been trained to think that a prenuptial agreement is a bad thing, and it isn't necessarily, right? It's a planning and it's a structure for not only her protection or his protection, but a mutual protection for everyone.
Yes.
So
Exactly. So here's part of why it gets the bad rap, right? You see it in the movies, it's always the last minute. So there's two things that are wrong. It's always one person that came up with the whole plan, right? Without the input of the other spouse. Then they spring it on them at the last minute, right? And it feels like sign this or not. So now there's duress, right? So
right,
these three elements are actually the villain. It's not the prenuptial agreement itself, right? An agreement means it's something that the two of us are agreeing on. That takes two people. A prenuptial agreement is something that both of the parties to the agreement come up with together, right? So you're not springing it. You didn't do it on your own, right? You do it as soon as you start talking about getting married. You start working on that. So it's not at the last minute, you know? And then it's not that whole duress thing. If you don't sign this now, I'm not going to marry you.
right. So it's used for evil, but it also has the positive uses as well. And it's an agreement on by two people, not just, I'm the billionaire playboy, and if you want all this chocolate over here, you got to sign this document, which is
Right.
not, that's the evil use of it.
Correct.
But the best use of it is, hey, you have an invested interest in certain things that you would like to not see changed. I have an invested interest in certain things that I would not like to see changed. Let's come together and work on this document together, so those interests and those business, those relationship, those marital interests don't get affected if I pass away, if we don't see eye to eye, if um Betty Lou in here tries to cause ruckus in our marriage. The neighbor, wants to send that friendly pie over every Tuesday, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's worked on together. So that's
Yep.
huge. That's major. Round of applause, y'all. Miss Christian, Miss Family, sorry.
Yes.
Who
Yes.
is the ideal person for a prenuptial agreement? Is it the rich? Is it the super wealthy should get a prenuptial? Is it the middle class? Who who's best? Who gets the prenuptial agreement the best? Who does it serve primarily?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's a prenuptial agreement to me is like an estate plan. It really is for everyone, right? If you're alive and you're going to possibly die, then you should have an estate plan. If you're getting married, you should have a prenuptial agreement. Like they're for everybody. Specifically, people who, let me see. Let me start. How do I want to say this? Specifically, it's the making of the prenuptial agreement. Let me go back to that. That is what matters, right? Like you and your future spouse have got to have an honest conversation about finances. Period. Period. Right? Like it needs to be transparent. You need to know going into the marriage how much your spouse makes. How often do they get paid? What do they own? What do they owe? Y'all need to know this about each other just going in. Like that's just number one, transparency. Number two, you need to know like what things you value. Like is this person a saver? Are you know what I mean? Is this person into this thing? Like what like you need to know this about each other. And then third, you need to know, so what is our plan? Then even going into the marriage, what's the plan, right? Like, are you from a family where everybody went half on everything? There was, her money was her money, his money was his money, and all the bills are 50-50. Like, I mean, is that what you're expecting? Are we expecting a joint marital account? Like, what is the expectation here? This is a conversation that has to be had by anybody that's going to get married.
But if there's a joint marital account, what happens with that joint account if I pass away? And that is laid out in the prenuptial agreement.
Correct.
Okay. Does a prenuptial agreement supersede a will, or an estate plan? Is there a hierarchy or a chain of events there?
Oh, you know what? This is a winning question.
I'm sorry. And there's a caveat, y'all. She does not practice law anymore. So for her protection, my guess is protection. These are professional and her personal opinions.
Thank you. And I'll add the rest of the caveat. And when I did practice, it was only in the state of Ohio, and all states kind of have their own kind of rules on these things, right?
Absolutely.
So I actually don't have a direct answer for that one, but the point is that they would work together, right? So they shouldn't be in conflict, because the point in making your own written agreement is to not be stuck with whatever the law would naturally have happened if you didn't have something written down, if that makes any sense.
That makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Right.
Makes perfect sense. And thank you for saying that. We have one more quick commercial break. You guys stay tuned. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We got to pay some bills, y'all. We'll be back.
If you're looking for a reliable, professional trucking and logistics service, you've come to the right place. Musa Trucking is a veteran-owned and operated premier transportation provider that can help with all of your trucking and logistics needs. Musa is revolutionizing the trucking industry through strategic partnerships, the development of core personnel, and the use of cutting-edge technology. Our inventory system ensures that cargo ends up divided into the right trucks and reaching the correct destination. Our drivers are dedicated to transporting goods efficiently and safely. Contact us today to get started by visiting the website on the screen or by calling 757-756-5246.
Hey, welcome back to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. We have the incredible Miss Christian Family. She is absolutely incredible, and she's spilling the tea on prenuptial agreements, and her she is a wealth of knowledge. If you're missing this, if you are just tuning in for the first time, go back, check her out, go back to the beginning and watch the replay of this. You don't want to miss a second of this powerhouse speaker. Miss Christian, you just debunked the myth on prenuptial agreements, and you just debunked a lot of stigma, a lot of negative stigma that hung around in the air in a lot of people's minds, that a prenuptial agreement is a bad thing. If my future husband mentions this to me, oh, I don't want it. I don't want to deal with it because you're already planning for the end. But actually, a prenuptial agreement is brought up in the beginning, and it's agreement between two people, not just one person.
Correct.
Love that. Love that. So diving right in, what are some things that you cannot ask for in a prenuptial agreement? Are there any stipulations? There's a lot of pros and cons to this, but what are some things that you can't dictate in a prenuptial agreement, if any?
I got you. Well, a lot of the rules are kind of state by state. A lot of states will not allow you. I don't know. In fact, I don't know of any state that does allow, but they might. Most states don't allow you to put anything in there about children. So child support and how you're going to split the children. If that becomes an issue, that actually has to happen in the divorce, right? Like that's a separate issue. The prenup is really about real property, actual property, just property, assets and debts and things of that sort. So that's that. Also, the prenup can't like encourage divorce. I'm not exactly what sure those terms would be, but it's like a morality clause that kind of most of the states have that the prenup can't, right? It can't make it turns out better for you if you get a divorce or whatever.
Right. It can't be better than the marriage. It can't be like, oh, this is if your husband dies on the 5th Saturday of the month on March, you get this. Like
Right.
that's an incentive to kill me off. So avoid that at all costs, y'all. Do not. You can't do that. You can't do that depending on the state you live in. Consult your attorney. Consult a divorce attorney that specializes in this. But and that's good. I didn't know that. You can't like lay down the law. Like he will pick up the kids and take them to Bible study every Sunday, right? You can't dictate that in a prenuptial agreement.
Mm-mm.
So thank you. That makes sense. Because I can imagine some people would sit there and say, well, this prenup is invalid because I want you to instill these you said children, right? So to avoid all that mess, let's deal with the physical assets. A house isn't going to complain that you're not taking care of it. Right?
Correct.
Or the dog might complain, but there you go.
Yeah, and there are places actually where people are putting the dogs in the prenup, like the pets.
Really?
Because they're kind of an asset in that way. Mm-hmm.
What? My dog I can't send this dog off to college. Like this dog isn't gonna go to Harvard. It's an asset, really? Okay.
So it would be an asset, right? So it's an asset, right? Because it's not a kid, and so who's going to get the dog? Like people have shared parenting agreements with their pets. Like it's some crazy stuff out there.
Keep the dog. You can have the dog.
That's how I feel.
Keep the dog. You can have it. What what tips or advice would you give to that couple who is going through marital counseling right now and they're on the fence about mentioning? I mean, how do you bring that up, right? Do I bring it up after great sex and it's like, here, baby, like how do you bring up a prenuptial agreement? What is the best way to do that on your spot to your future spouse?
Yeah. Hey, let's have a conversation about money. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about money.
Yeah.
Talk about money, and it is a layered conversation. So before necessarily you're asking the person the numbers and to lay out for you exactly what they have and what they owe, because a lot of times there's a lot of shame and stuff around money and that kind of thing. So at the opening of the conversation, let's talk about money. You want to know, like, what are their thoughts about money? What's their relationship to money? Like maybe what was money like in their house, growing up. So you want to look at it a little more on the emotions, feeling side about money. So you want to open the conversation there. Then you want to come back around because now you know where they're coming from, and then you can open up and talk about the numbers. And then you want to come back around again. Like this is major, right? And then let's talk about an actual plan. So how do we want to go moving forward?
Makes sense. So don't spring it on your wives, guys. Don't spring it on your wives and just, pop up one day and say, hey, I found these papers lying on the floor. Let's read it together. Oh, it already has my signature. That's not the proper way to spring a prenup on your wife. Do not do that, fellas. What advice or what final tips of encouragement would you give to that couple out in the audience that is considering marriage?
The main thing is don't be afraid of difficult conversations.
True.
Don't be afraid of them. Don't avoid them. If having this conversation and the answers to this is going to create a break in the foundation of this relationship, then let's do it now.
Break up now.
Before we get married. Right? Like, don't avoid difficult conversations.
It's true. True. And if it is a difficult conversation and it's something you can't get past, it may not be the right relationship for you.
Exactly.
Ask your doctor for a prescription and recommendation. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yep.
Miss Family, you are incredible. I thank you, sister, for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us here today and give these helpful tips. This is powerful. I want to say this to you publicly. Please don't ever quit. We need you. And I look forward to continuing to stay friends with you and connect with you and watch you as your empire grows and as you continue to grow and develop. You are phenomenal, sister. And I want to say this to you, my audience. Oh, how can we connect with you? How can my audience learn more about you? How can we grow with you?
These are good questions. Find me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty sure I'm DivorceXN. And I'm on LinkedIn the same way. DivorceXN.
Absolutely. DivorceXN. Check her out. Connect. Again, she's not practicing law anymore, but she can lead you in the right direction. And she can love on you and coach you and mentor you into the right steps. If you are on the fence, if you need someone to talk to, she's always been a listening ear for me. She's been really good at that. So I have a lot to say. As you could tell, I do a podcast, y'all. So I have a lot to say. Thank you, Miss Christian. We love you, sister. You have a wonderful day. And I thank you so much. You be safe out there. COVID is real, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say this to you, my audience. Take care. Like I always end every show. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. And always take care of business. This is Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show, your favorite host, and the beautiful, lovely Christian family. Love you guys. Bye.